Real Kid Radio.
I knew your leg was bad. I was aware of that. Just tag me. But you're too selfish. You just want to put your sharpshooter on. I could have won the match. I don't need you with a bad leg doing it, Brent. You're too damn selfish. And that's why you're sitting there with a bad leg. And that's why I kicked your leg out of your leg.
I am not a nugget. It is the whole fucking show on Real Kid Radio. Twitter.com/fucking podcast. The whole fucking show on Facebook. The whole fucking show.info. I am Kevin Scampoli, or as the internet wrestling community used to know me as. I'm in a couple Hall of Fames, if you will. I was Ivan Cage, Giant Johnson. Combined, I had 3 IW championships. That was Immortal Wrestling, before Immortal was around on TNA. I defeated Anthony Cutler, Zach Man, Ike Noble, Stefan Waters. Just a little bit of a list of names I've defeated. And who am I with tonight?
I am Danny Richardson, Primetime, the excellence of I almost stole a Bret Hart line there. That is horrible. The exhibition of excellence, the original icon, and the real-life Macaulay Culkin.
There's a little too much Bret Hart hate that happens between our discussions. I still kind of feel like he's going to be my number 2 favorite wrestler of all time, but we will get into that later. We need to still, though, focus on us, Danny Richardson, because
absolutely,
it's important you know where we're coming from as wrestling fans when you hear us discuss wrestling. There's a lot of Shawn Michaels love that happens. He's our number 1, shared number 1.
He's the poster boy for the show.
We cut him down the middle. We split him. We save him. I take the blue pants Shawn Michaels. You like the red pants Shawn Michaels.
We both hate the brown pants Shawn Michaels.
It's the worst. But how about this? In the jeans Shawn Michaels, in the Jesus Shawn Michaels, in the cowboy boots Shawn Michaels.
Little gym shorts Shawn Michaels where his left ball fell out.
I kind of like that. That's kind of something I like. But how about this question? Who is the all-time greatest on the mic? That'll be a great gauge of what kind of wrestling fan you are with this answer.
God, there's so many really good ones. I feel like when you say on the mic, like maybe because it's more recent history, you automatically have to think The Rock. You have to think your Steve Austins, and they're definitely up there. But I try to think of it in range. Not just The Rock's more good for laughs.
Yeah, yelling guy. And I was actually...
Yeah.
I knew The Rock was... Of course, that's the first name you think of. He has that reputation in any circle you talk to. But when you break him down, he's catchphrase guy, which is fine. He's shouting guy, which is fine. But at the end of the day, I mean, like a Chris Jericho. Would you put Jericho's... He has so many different silly catchphrases, from Ayatollah of Rock and Rolla to the many. He evolves with each gimmick, and it's not the same character each time. He goes funny, goes serious.
And back when he had the catchphrase where he called Stephanie the no good, low bottom feeding trash bag hoe or whatever. It's like he can run through something and then he just drops it and comes up with something new. So he is always like reinventing himself on the mic.
So is that like when you say range, are you talking more of a Jericho?
I like a guy that can do a little bit of, I want you to be able to like kind of, that you can put over a match. I want you to, like, when it needs to be emotional, I need to feel that intensity. Like, not a lot of people, I don't feel like people always give the credit, but John Cena, when he gets serious,
oh jeez,
when
he raps loud, it's like
he's not gonna be my list. But I'm just saying, when he gets serious, where he's just talking like, and he's trying to be like emotional, and I feel like he's really good at getting how important an issue is. I feel like he gets it across really well.
The John Cena I like, he does he's fun guy, and then it'll snap and he'll turn into that at the end. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
and I do think that's effective.
I like that. I like a guy that can make me feel like like this match actually is their life and it means something and it's more than just a win or a loss.
Yeah, part of me leans towards funny, but like, because I love Santino Marella, but I'm not going to say he's the all-time greatest on the mic, so I understand what you mean by range. But is The Rock still in the discussion, or are we eliminating him with this point?
I think he's in the discussion, but I think if you took his whole body of work and you went back and watched it, where some people might like it, for me, a lot of his material where he's trying to be funny is pretty hit or miss. You know, he's that guy that would just put together words trying to be funny. Like, you know, he's like, oh, I beat you like a monkey's anus. And it's like, yeah, that doesn't make sense. You're just throwing words in there because you think they sound funny and they get like the immature chuckle. And he'll
plug in a new thing to put up your ass. He's always putting something in your ass sideways, whether it's his boot, your Bible.
Yeah.
I wish he said Bible, then he'd be the best ever.
and that falls into the category of just the repetition, like we talked before. You know, people love when they know what's coming. They love the repetition. And so sometimes that puts a guy like the Road Dogg over, and people might think, oh, he's really good on the mic. But was he really, or did he just come out and say the same thing and 10,000 people said it with them because everybody wants to play along. And so it made it seem like, oh, this guy's really good.
And yeah, there's something about his voice. There people with great voices like an Owen Hart, Chris Jericho, Jeff Jarrett, and Road Dogg, that they have an advantage over the Billy Gunns, where they sound awkward. The Chris Benoits, who made Jeff Hardy.
No matter what they do, they're never gonna sound the same.
The voice is the one thing that's like, you could have the best personality in the world, and even you could say that about The Rock when he first became The Rock. Like, what a thin, strange voice he had before he was just shouting at us. Yeah, and I remember thinking he was he had an awkward promo. And he wasn't really that good on the mic. And then who would have known he'd turn into what he is? But also, the main problem, my huge issue with all promos now, and I know it's easy to say the pre-written thing, but more than that, the reason why they're pre-written is because everyone, including Triple H now, like his Undertaker promo he's been cutting when he returned, he's basically saying chunks of the opening vignette before the match. Like, he's picturing the editing, like they're going to show me pedigreeing people and yelling this. Rather than concentrating on the moment and saying what he has to say, he's picturing what he said, or he even probably tried it in advance. Like, how would this sound over the video before the match?
Yeah, they're going more for the sound bites. And for the production crew, that works great because like if wrestling was just a series of produced videos hyping up matches, I can't imagine more people couldn't be sucked in, because they've got to have one of the best production teams around. But they find a way to slow everything down and make it more intense, and you only take out the good parts and you put reverb behind a catchphrase, and like you said, it does it comes off great in the production. But for an interview, like it seems like everything's you could talk for 10 minutes and it's all just so you can spit out a soundbite.
Yeah, like, I'm gonna die trying, or you're gonna die. Like, it's these stupid sound bites, and I love how I spent like 45 seconds trying to say what you said in 2 words. They're going for the soundbite. Well, thank you. You should have just said that from the beginning. But yeah, it's but they were also had great videos back when promos mattered in the 90s. So if anything, if they're not working for that soundbite, it forces the creative team to work harder after the fact in editing, and I think it would all be better in the end. But it's just they're unwatchable now. The way it's just a bunch of non sequitur threats that exist because they're going to put a big drum beat behind it at some point.
Yeah, and I read things where people think that the PG rating, and I feel like I always go to that, but people feel like the PG rating is holding wrestlers back from cutting good promos. And while I think it holds people back from developing their characters a little bit better, I don't think that holds them back. You could still cut a good promo, but it needs to be natural.
Right.
And so I don't think you have to swear to be good on the mic, but I mean it needs to feel more natural. You need to be saying how you feel. Like they're going to be actors. They need to get into the actor mindset where you're like, okay, what would my character do and say?
And yeah, this Steve Austin saying basically the same thing right here.
If you had control of the wrestling industry, what would you like to see happen?
I'll tell you, the first thing I would do is I would abolish the scripted promo. First and foremost, that's what I'd do. I don't think there's any problem with the PG flavor. I don't think that's the issue. I think it's candy-coated promos which are written. And don't get me wrong, Hey, the writers are great.
But here's the thing. That's a great point, and I agree. But The Miz right now is putting on some of the best promos I've ever seen. And are those also pre-written, or do they just know how to write for a character who nobody thought would make it?
And it's if I had to ask, like, and I wouldn't see why his wouldn't be pre-written when other people's are, but I wouldn't guess that his are, because the stuff he does and says kind of goes against what they're saying. Like when, Cena says something and it's like it gets a little cheer out of the crowd of the kids like that, but you're like overall, like you're sitting at home and you're watching and you're like, God, that was kind of lame. That was a hack joke. But then Miz points it out. He's like, that's not funny. You keep going to the same stuff. Like, he points it out and makes them look like shit.
Yeah, I wonder,
even though the crowd doesn't really jump on it.
I think it could be because maybe with Miz, they're less because he's being the heel that the kids. I just call him a hail. Why did that sound different? When he's being this rainstorm.
Is that getting edited too?
No. I think that's actually a wonderful moment. But when he's being this hail. I did it again. The kids, like with Cena, I should have just started here with this face. Cena, they want the kids to get behind it, have their parents buy tickets, buy merchandise. So there's a lot more invested in what he says per second he's out there. Maybe with The Miz, he has a little more freedom because he's only going to sell more. Like he's not. You're gonna have a catchphrase for the kids to love because that's not what they're going for with his character.
Yeah, and I mean, it does have the catchphrase, but they know it's not one that, like, he's not saying it trying to get people to repeat it.
You're right.
To get himself over. He's saying it because nobody wants to hear it. And every time he says it now, if you're against him, you're hoping that somebody else's music kicks on and interrupts him. Right. And every time it doesn't, it makes you hate him that much more. You're like, oh, he got away with saying it.
Is there anybody...
Like, his catchphrase actually helps him get over more, but not through, like, repetition, just because people generally hate his catchphrase.
Right. Is there anybody today that you think is in the discussion for the all-time greatest on the mic?
I'm trying to think of, like, over to, like, TNA as well.
Don't bother. Jeff Hardy, Sting. These are the worst. If we're talking about worst on the mic, then yeah, we'll go down the list. Sting is the worst. First of all, nice scary spray paint and silly cartoony voice. Walk away, Sting. And then Jeff Hardy, who really, how is he singing for a band with that voice? I could do a whole episode on how much I hate Jeff Hardy, and more so the people that like Jeff Hardy. If you're listening to this and you've ever rooted for Jeff Hardy, or you've fucking called yourself Team Extreme, fucking turn it off. Go kill yourself. To be honest, go have a Bret Hart stroke. That's the spectrum. Right. So he's all the way down there. Jeff Hardy for you is not in your top 5 best. No. That's kind of confusing. Jeff Hardy. The biggest shame about Bret Hart's stroke is that it didn't happen to Jeff Hardy. Yeah, that could be the worst part of the stroke. That and that he was able to walk again. But here's the thing. With Jeff Hardy, we're just so hateful to Bret Hart for no reason. Wrestling with Shadows is it's great. Because he hates Shawn Michaels. Yeah, we're very protective over him. But with Jeff Hardy, I've never seen a character go so far with no evolution. He's just still, if you watch the 2002 Royal Rumble, he comes into the Royal Rumble looking like he did. No evolution. Have you seen his face paint lately? Oh, stop. It's way more elaborate than what it used to be. I love his matches, though. He's great in the ring, even though it's the same shit with silly names, like his poetry, Whispers in the Wind. Is he really that good, though? I mean, like the Swanton, it's impressive. But I mean, like other stuff, he's a little guy that almost does no cruiserweight moves. I was thinking the other day that I want to watch TNA just because he had the immortal title. Like, I'm the only one who thought that probably, but there's something about Jeff Hardy where seeing him get beat up, it looks like he's getting beat up. He can sell so well, even though he can't talk worth a damn. And the Swanton, it's not that amazing, but it's just that it's the idea of his head being in that position until the last second is so original. It's just a front. I mean, you or I could get on the rope and jump forward and land on our back, but he waits so long to do that rotation that every time you're like, oh, is this going to be the time where he dies? And then he doesn't. And then you're sad about it. Like, what the fuck? Hey, get a little riskier. And he has some moments like when he jumped in the Money in the Bank where he went from the top of the ladder through the other ladder through some black guy named Shelton Benjamin. That was a great moment. And I like his ragdoll effect to his sell. Like, it's a very Shawn Michaels like selling ability.
Yeah, probably one of his better moments for me was that then they dropped it, but he had a feud with Undertaker when Undertaker was doing his American Badass bit, and they did a little feud that lasted a couple weeks, but it was pretty good. Like because he had that big guy that could just hit him and he could just flop around.
And there's so many different ways he could reverse a last ride that you kind of want to see what's going to happen. But at the same time, I didn't see this feud, but I'm willing to, this was during my hibernation from wrestling. I can almost guarantee Jeff Hardy never won one of those matches, and if he did, it was not clean at all. Because
one of them that might be worth. I think it ended with they actually on Raw and they did a ladder match, and it was one of those things where they first really kind of ventured out and were willing to put guys that weren't quite main event or a match that wasn't pay-per-view quality as the main event on Raw.
Yeah,
because Jeff Hardy wasn't shit then. He was still trying to break out of the Hardy Boy thing, and like. Him and Undertaker in a ladder match was like a pretty intriguing match, and it went pretty well. But no, I don't think he ever got over on anything.
And with Jeff Hardy, the way you feel about him is how I feel about Matt Hardy. Like I see some good, there's some redeeming qualities to Jeff Hardy as a character, though his lows are really low. I mean, when you see him talk, you really wonder why you purchased the home you live in and the television. But with Matt Hardy, there's nothing like this guy.
Yeah.
Matt Hardy is fat. Is he fat? Tell me if he's fat.
He's fat, but it's weird because, it's not even fat. It's like he's just chubby. like he's that, I don't know, like it doesn't qualify as fat. He's like it's like there's muscle there, but it's just covered in fat.
I love how too we're supposed to be figuring out the greatest on the mic, and we're naming the worst. Just people
we're going backward. Well, sometimes you got to start from the bottom and work your way forward.
Yeah, we're setting the scale right now. But while we're on this whole fat thing, it's funny how wrestling, you want to be cool and say it's not a body industry, but you still focus on things like that. With is Edge fat? I don't think he is. Somebody told me, this kid I work with was so, he didn't like Edge because he was a fat guy. Do you see it?
No, Edge isn't a fat guy. Edge isn't very, not a lot of muscle build, but I mean, I definitely wouldn't say he's fat. I think it's like his body frame is it's like a letter I. I mean, or like a lowercase L. He's just a straight line.
I've never seen anybody like this kid. I've never heard of somebody that has distorted body image about someone else and they're worried about it. Like, that's why he doesn't like him. Like, he's really self-conscious about Edge's weight when it's not there. He just made it up. He's a fucking 13-year-old girl, but he loves Edge. So anyways, back to this concept, because we will talk about body types. Greatest on the mic right now.
So we eliminated everybody from TNA, not Kurt Angle.
Well, Ric Flair. What about Ric Flair?
Yeah, but if you count Ric Flair, I don't think you go TNA Ric Flair, you go all-time Ric Flair.
TNA Ric Flair's a creep. He's still doing give me your number. It's terrible. It's really creepy. And I don't like his whole Hulk Hogan's my best friend thing he's doing right now. But, I mean,
Ric Flair has been stripped down to his underwear enough times that I start to think it's Ric Flair's idea. Like, he's in the back, and he's like, what'll really get this over? If you take my pants off. That'll be what sells it.
I love when he elbow drops the mic, though. It's such a fucking funny thing. Like, he's intimidating us.
Or he throws his jacket down and, elbows that or stomps on it. That's always good stuff.
When you were watching WCW growing up in the Attitude Era and the whole Monday Night Wars, for some reason, I was under the impression that Ric Flair was the problem. Like, Scott Steiner did this stupid shoot where he called out Ric Flair for holding the young guys down. And idiots like me believed that. But if you look more into it, Ric Flair was one of the good things about that company. He was trying to fix it.
Yeah, I think he saw where it went wrong. I mean, and backstage-wise is different where people might... certain wrestlers might feel like, in the older days, Ric Flair didn't put him over, but I feel like Ric Flair did a lot of putting over, even, in his, in the early part of his career and then later on.
Yeah, that's been what his claim to fame is. Like, Hulk Hogan didn't, all Ric Flair did was make people look good. That's why I say I'm the Ric Flair of podcasting. But here's the thing, nothing against you, but, you with
can I be the Matt Hardy of podcasting?
Please don't, for my sake. Matt Hardy needs to stop this. We need an intervention with Matt Hardy. I didn't even know he still wrestled. I turned on TNA just to kind of see, to be honest, because of Jeff Hardy. I have to admit it. He might be my number 2. And I saw Matt Hardy's stupid face. Okay, so best on the mic. I think Stone Cold's still in the discussion. I'm just going to keep Jericho there. We'll see. How about Scott Steiner? I loved him. I loved Big Papa Pump. My first AOL screen name was Papa P1763.
The character part's great because nobody's ever... The way he's built is so unnatural that, like, even now when I see him, like, I watch him and I can't stop staring at him. And on the new SmackDown versus Raw game, I downloaded a Scott Steiner, and I was never a huge Scott Steiner guy, but I love playing with Scott Steiner.
Yeah, I'm like that way with Kane now. I hate him, and he is also one of the worst on the mic. He'll put his life into it. He'll act. Like, he'll cry for the show. He'll do anything to make a promo look good, and it just comes off as awkward and cheesy and extremely uncomfortable. But did we eliminate Ric Flair due to range?
I think a lot of people put Ric Flair on there. I don't think I'm going to pick him, but
Me neither.
I think you got to keep him in the in the top conversation because a lot of I think Ric Flair's up there just as much as Austin or Rock.
Also, do we give Steve Austin credit for what's probably written ideas, like holding the show hostage? Because he's the guy doing it, do we give him credit for that?
I maybe subconsciously, maybe a little bit gets the thing because he has so many great moments that involve him being on the mic. But you're like, but were they good moments because of what he said, or were they good moments because of the atmosphere at the time?
Right.
When he's holding Vince McMahon hostage with a gun, like there's a part of you that thought like somebody should call the cops. Like you're like, wait a minute, maybe this shouldn't be happening. But what he said at the time, was it really anything that good? Or is it that he's so believable, he's so natural on the mic that all those moments felt more real?
Right, he has so many great moments, but yeah, is what I remember, like even his catchphrases were so well done, except I will give him credit for also being part of the perfect storm that took me out of wrestling. What? The what thing was too much. It was terrible. Did you like the what thing?
I still hate it because it serves zero purpose. And people say it now, and I'm convinced that, like, most of them don't even know where it came from. People do it now during interviews. So if you're ever on the mic, it's ruined it for wrestlers that you have to now be careful not to ever pause in between sentences. You can't speak in a certain cadence or the crowd automatically jumps into doing the what.
It's still, do we count that now as an anti-Austin?
Yeah, you know what? You've got me so angry with that I feel like I have to take Austin out of that.
I kind of want to.
More to hurt microphone skills than to help them.
I got to agree. I mean, he was so good in the Attitude Era. He probably with just his mic because he broke his neck that time, and he was only existed as a speaking character. He brought that company up from the ashes.
Yeah, without even really doing anything.
But still, the what thing is enough for me to say maybe he should have just retired after the neck injury and let WWE fold. So now, my list is honestly just down to Jericho. I'm thinking of an Owen Hart because, that's it. It's over. Owen Hart. He's the funniest.
See, now it's going to sound set up. We use the Owen Hart music. And
Hey, if I could, that would be the song every time. Owen Hart, to me, I was just watching the Shawn Michaels DVD, one of the many I have. I make copies just in case I lose it. And him versus Bulldog with Owen Hart doing commentary is one of the funniest things I've ever seen. Owen Hart just on the fly. And his voice, he has the voice, probably the best voice ever. How did he even get that voice being Bret Hart's brother?
Owen Hart, was almost to, reuse your phrase, the perfect storm of he had the look and the voice of a guy that would whine a lot, and then he did it.
Yeah, right.
He wasn't just a guy that whined a lot. He looked if you looked at me that guy looks like a crybaby, and then you hear his voice, and you're like, that guy sounds like a crybaby.
The Nugget
his character was, that guy's a crybaby. It was everything together that you hate him. Owen Hart as a good guy never was going to make sense.
Right.
It's the equivalent of Austin is a bad guy or whatever. There's just certain characters that don't make sense. Owen Hart as a good guy was never going to make sense. So Owen Hart ran with essentially the same character, even though he kind of evolved it subtly. He ran with the same character that just kind of, it was all, he did there was the me character. Everything he found a way to turn it into about him, and he whined when stuff happened, and it was great.
Yeah, he was in his brother's shadow no matter what it was. You felt like he still hated the fact that he was Bret Hart's brother. And he, during the catchphrase era, which I will call the Attitude Era for the rest of this segment, he also did what so many heels had to do but couldn't, the anti-catchphrase, the nugget thing, where, you know what, I am a nugget.
The Kurt Angle, you suck.
Yes, and this is just a random YouTube clip where he wins a Slammy Award, but he's supposed to present it, and I kind of feel like this wasn't supposed to happen. Like when Owen Hart died and they had the tribute afterwards, the stories you'd hear were you just kind of wish you could have lived them and experienced them, because he would just like overselling in the ring to make you laugh. His ribbing he would do. He seems like one of the few genuinely funny wrestlers. I'd say him and Shawn Michaels at the time, who was a complete dick. So this is Owen Hart supposedly winning a Slammy, but he's supposed to be presenting it, but he just puts the envelope in his pocket and keeps it.
Wait a minute, what's this? Owen Hart, Slammy Award winner.
Woo! I did it again! And you know what?
And it showed.
I missed that voice.
The reason it's perfect. He yells better than anybody. And the reason why I kind of think this wasn't, and it probably was supposed to happen, but British Bulldog looks like he wants to laugh so hard, but he's trying to keep his composure with the camera on him. It makes me think this probably was just a bit he did.
Presenting this.
So he looks at the envelope, puts it in his pocket.
You gotta be thankful to him, man. Owen spent a whole year of his life promoting this crummy show.
I did it again!
Yes!
And I have nobody to thank once again.
Yeah, they show Bulldog. He has this huge smile on his face, and he's like buckle over trying to keep his composure.
I did it all by my sweet little self.
Sweet little self?
Two-time Slammy Award winner. I knew it. I'm a winner. I did it. Woo! Hey, Bulldog, you may have 2 titles, but you don't have 2 Slammies.
Yeah.
And it seemed to me like at that moment,
And
Owen...
they were friends at the time, right? I mean, like...
Oh, yeah.
But it worked with his character. You didn't go, well, I bet they're going to fight now. Like,
Yeah.
You knew that it was just Bulldog. Like, you accepted that his character would just be like, it's just Owen. Like,
Yeah, it's just a Slammy, but like play along because they're friends type of thing.
Yeah.
And it also, I kind of feel like he noticed Bulldog was going to laugh, and he tried to make him laugh with that.
So he
like,
calls him out.
Yeah, he calls out his tag team partner, and they're tag team champions right now.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
And then he saw him about to laugh and tried to push him over the edge.
Titles, but you don't have 2 Slammies.
Yeah.
And the whole time, too, he's doing this great body language where he's gripping the side of his jacket that has the envelope in it.
And speaking of that, Vader and Mankind, this Sunday at WrestleMania, you're going to be in for the fight of your life because the Bulldog and myself...
Now him and Bulldog are buddies again, and they're going to go ahead and beat you.
We haven't been better ever, and we're going to beat you in Mankind.
Also, in this video, Todd Pettengill is in this video. Now,
I touched that guy's foot.
as a kid, I don't know how to back this up. I can't say I feel the same way now. I feel the opposite. I thought Todd Pettengill was so cool.
Well, because back then you looked at it and he was the first guy that was everywhere.
Yeah.
That like you're like, oh, this guy gets to hang out with the wrestlers. I think was kind of the feeling that you got because, you know, he could be out in the ring. He ran backstage shows. Like you never knew where Todd Pettengill was. Where before that, you had, you know, Sean Mooney or Gene Okerlund who were always just in the backstage, you know, little set that they had and, you know, in front of like 10 monitors that were playing old Coliseum home videos.
Right.
But like Todd Pettengill was the first guy that was out and they sent into the crowd and he was just everywhere. And, you know, he's just like a radio DJ.
And yeah, I'm a big Opie and Anthony fan. So hearing like them trash Scott and Todd, I never knew Todd was my Todd from a youth. And figuring that they were playing a clip of him doing silly songs at the Slammies, just trashing him. And meanwhile, I was like,
I remember that bit too.
Yeah, I probably loved it at the time. And when Michael Cole first came, I thought he was just like I think he said the first time he was on TV, he was just filling in for Todd Pettengill. And I remember thinking, this guy's just a nerdy Todd Pettengill. When
we all thought the same thing. We all like, oh, this guy's just a wannabe Todd Pettengill. And now if you go back, Todd Pettengill
is the worst.
Didn't want to be Todd Pettengill.
Yeah, he's a terrible person to even see. And also, every week on Superstars or whatever Michael Cole, I'm assuming it was Superstars as a kid.
Every Sunday.
I kept thinking maybe Todd Pettengill's coming back this week, and it was always just Michael Cole. So they just got rid of Todd Pettengill and did this thing where he was filling in forever.
Yeah, I remember when he used to host Livewire.
Did
you ever watch that?
Yeah. Yeah, I watched
that
them
had
all.
the potential to be one of the greatest shows of all time. Somebody thought it was a good idea to take live phone calls from wrestling fans. And you'd get people that call in and be like, hey, when are Diesel and Razor Ramon coming back? And they're like, we lost the connection on that one. And they would just hang up on the people.
Call back, Jim.
I think that show lasted like a month, and then they realized we're not doing live phone calls anymore.
Are we going with Owen Hart as best on the mic? Are we going to seal this conversation right now?
I have two others. One for me seems obvious that I want to throw in there.
Vader? Is it Vader?
No, it's not Vader, although I do love Vader. I play with him on SmackDown.
Is it Piper? Roddy Piper?
When me and you finally play online and SmackDown vs. Raw, I will destroy you with Vader.
We're such geeks that I'm gonna go ahead and respond with wait till I'm Ivan Cage, because you know I created that fuck. And
Are you insinuating I didn't create Primetime?
Well, you don't want to do that, Primetime Macaulay, because I went to WrestleMania and beat The Undertaker at WrestleMania for the title.
That's so weird, because I did the same thing.
Well, then I guess it's only natural that we square up to see who the real immortal is. But who are your two you were going to throw out there?
I'll go with a more obvious one, because the other one I think nobody really thinks of. The more obvious one, I put Mick Foley up there a lot. Mick Foley's another guy that's very natural on the mic. He's hilarious when he wants to be.
Yeah.
Like, when he gets to do his own thing, like sometimes it's so subtle that it's great. And then when he goes into, I'm going to get intense and emotional and sell this to you, why this is important to you too. It's probably some of the best stuff anyone does on a mic.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I could go back to Foley interviews, and I feel for that guy. And like, even now, while they wheel him out to do something, to sell over a really great moment, and he gets me, I'm like, yeah, like, that guy's been beaten in the head with a chair. Like, you listen to him. I get really emotional when I listen to Mick Foley.
And even, like, a lot of people, he is great. And a lot of people have times that they're not proud of because of where the industry was. During those times, he was still taking these characters and making them great. Like Mankind, anyone else could make that terrible or cringeworthy. And those were genuinely creepy videos that turned into... when I first saw him as a kid, I go, who's this chubby guy? He's not scary, really.
Yeah.
And they shaved his head to make it look like he pulled his hair out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, he made that character as in interview form, and of course in ring, as I grew up to learn... a great character, and he added layers over time. That character evolved so fast.
And who else could pull off, like you said, Mankind, but Dude Love is the obvious. I mean, he got Dude Love over as a good guy and then as a bad guy.
I like this one, but I'm not gonna put him over Owen. I don't know if it's like Owen's dead and Mick Foley's alive, so I gotta go with Owen. But there is something about Owen that I feel like he has my sense of humor. That everything, even though he's in character as a bit, there's other bits that he has going on that only wrestlers would know, that he's trying to make them break character the whole time. I love it.
Yeah. And then if I knew that stuff, then I would go back and watch it, like, with a whole different perspective. You would look at you would look at Owen in a different light.
Is there an Owen DVD?
Trying to pull off. No, they can't put one out unless they'd had something before he died. But his wife has a whole lawsuit injunction. That's why he's not. He's never mentioned. They're getting resued because they did that Heart Foundation DVD.
Yeah,
and there's footage of him in it, and she doesn't want him anywhere near their product. So you're never going to see him. You can't see him in the Hall of Fame. You're not going to see him. In a video game, none of that until she, gets past it.
She needs to fall from the top of an arena today. I've had enough of this woman. And
maybe she could follow the tradition of hearts and have a stroke.
And I know this is so, this goes against what we're trying to have a conversation, but I just want to go on YouTube and watch Owen. Let's just watch Enough is Enough, and it's time for a change, or listen to it.
Or let me throw out my last one, because I know he'll get dismissed.
Yeah. Oh, wait. No, I really want to jump to that next, but I just want to hear this song.
Okay.
For 1 second, because the way who would open their fucking song with "Enough is enough, it's time for a change," and plus the shirt "Enough is enough, it's clock for a change." It's the fucking best. What a whiny little bitch, like you were saying. And who knows? Of course, it's not going to work. So
I tried to play by the rules.
Oh, it's one of those YouTube videos where there's a 10-second delay. So let's sit here in silence and wait for it. Want to do that with me? All right, let's
awesome.
do it. This will be us remembering Owen for however much time there's silence here. We'll give him this amount of time of dead air and remembrance.
There should be a bell ringing or something.
You're talking over the remembrance. But,
sorry.
Okay. There should be a bell here.
Well, enough is enough,
and it's time for a change.
By the way, another great entrance song. He's never had a bad song.
The opening made it a great entrance song.
I also think Jeff Jarrett around this time was really, really good on the mic, also in WCW. But who's your last guy?
He'll get dismissed, but I like to include him because I always liked him. Would be Tommy Dreamer.
Yeah,
I think he gets overlooked a lot, but Tommy Dreamer, not overall great on the mic. I just like the one aspect of him that when they wheel him out to tell you, it's like the McFoley thing. When they wheel him out to tell you that something's important, he's really good at it. You look at Tommy Dreamer's face, he always looks like he's about to cry.
Or he looks like, or is he cross-eyed? I can't tell. Is he as good as Raven on the mic, though? Isn't Raven better than him right off the bat?
Raven was good. It's a different category just in what I'm looking at. I mean, overall, Raven's probably better than Tommy Dreamer. I just always like that I could look at Tommy Dreamer and think that guy's about to cry.
I'm going to dismiss him right now because I think
I knew he was getting dismissed. I just felt like he needed to be mentioned. I enjoy his interviews because like they only bring him out when they really want something interesting, because then he'll then break character and he's telling you about stuff that happens in the back, and he's the guy that brings up ECW and stuff, and it's always really good then. But if you try to do anything else with him, he's never going to go.
I got one more. You might dismiss him. Scott Hall. This guy, he would be in character. Wait, by the way, I know that was a bit, but what was with that drunk angle they did? They were making fun of his alcoholism on WCW. They'd make him stumble out. Or was he really supposed to be drunk? What was that about?
They're trying to play to the internet where we all were, reading and thinking we're smarter than we are at the time, and then everybody knew, oh, Scott Hall drinks. Like, I think the story was just starting to get out there. Like, he had missed shows, and I think he got suspended for. So then they bring him in, and it's like, well, let's play off of that.
Since I can't make, I'm going to say Owen Hart definitively. Do you have a definitive answer?
Well, so you said Scott Hall. I know you won't get him, but Kevin Nash shouldn't be overlooked either.
No, stop it. You're bringing up the guys who should be dismissed, and saying you might dismiss them.
Let me tell you on the Kevin Nash thing, just in one aspect. And it's all I ever think of when I see Kevin Nash. Okay. He was on commentary in WCW, and two female wrestlers, they're out there, and they're going to town. And I think Heenan says something about one of the girls knowing how to box. And Kevin Nash says, well, I don't know if she can wrestle, but I'd sure love to see her box.
That's overshadowed by this moment. Remember when he's like, WCW, huh? This is where the big boys play?
That was a good moment.
Look at the adjective, play. He doesn't even know what an adjective is. It plays the verb, big is the adjective. I thought he was going to talk about...
You wouldn't have told him any differently. We're going to have to go with, next show, we're going to have to go with defining moments, because that's going to be on that list.
I think we're going to do this right now. I'm going with Owen Hart. We'll pretend this is your, I think
I can go with Owen Hart just because I think everybody else cancels themselves out. Owen Hart has a factor that nobody else has, so he gets the one-up.
I was going to give you a pass, like how I can't pick a second favorite of all time. Like, you can't pick a best on the mic, but fine. If you want to yes-man me, I'll take it.
I'll give it to you at this moment. Do I think he's the best overall? No.
Before we go, we need to do because we talked about our favorite ever, Shawn Michaels, obviously. Best on the mic, too. We'll just throw it out there. I can't think of a number 2, but also we wanted to talk about the wrestling Mount Rushmore. So maybe when we discuss the people who belong on that, I'll be able to fill out my list. First and foremost, how many people are on Mount Rushmore?
4, I believe.
I thought it was 7.
It's definitely not 7.
It's a big mountain. And also, as I look it up, I'm looking at it. Can we talk about the new American Mount Rushmore? Because I don't think these people would stay on it. So it is 4. It looks like there's a slot in between Lincoln-looking guy and other-looking guy where they could fit another head. So maybe
something was supposed to be there.
Yeah, maybe HBK. So with our wrestling Mount Rushmore, let's set some rules. We can't make it personal. So like how we love Shawn Michaels, we can't put him on because of that. This has to be definitive of wrestling.
I could say right now, I don't think Shawn Michaels makes it.
I don't either. I'm saying it too. Sadly.
And I love the guy, but I think he might be a victim of his time in wrestling.
When I thought there was 5, he was on it. But I mean, I think this is really easy. I don't think there's going to be any.
I think it's tougher than you think. I think we'll agree on. I feel like we'll agree on 3 of the 4, and then I think we're going to argue on the 4th.
If you argue on my 4th, then you have never seen wrestling. All right, let's do this. Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, absolutely. Hulk Hogan goes on there.
Ric Flair.
There's no way you don't put Hulk Hogan. He's probably the George Washington of wrestling.
Yeah, Hulk Hogan really is, like, everybody knows who he is. And it's strange because I also wanted to discuss who really was the bigger draw in their time, Hulk Hogan or Steve Austin. I think it was Steve Austin. However, like you said before, it's a victim of their time. Hulk Hogan's bigger, like what he brought in was notoriety, his name getting out there. What Stone Cold brought in was just pure money and big pops. I think Stone Cold brought in more money, but you ask anybody who Steve Austin is, they might even say that $5 million man guy. Whereas Hulk Hogan, no, it's not the green guy, it's Hulk Hogan. So,
yeah.
All right, that discussion I had with myself, and and we got it out of the way. Now, Hulk Hogan's on it, obviously, Hulk Hogan. Ric Flair.
Yes, I had that one.
Well, we're on this, before we continue, Hulk Hogan or Ric Flair for you? Who's the one?
Like, who's
for
overall
you
better?
Personally, yeah.
I grew up all WWF until I didn't even discover WCW until like 94, 95. And I think I missed, the Ric Flair day. It's got to be Hulk Hogan.
But even with your hindsight now as a smarter person than you were then, because growing up, Ric Flair was just the guy my creepy uncle liked. And I'm like, okay, he used to be like, WCW's better because I like Ric Flair. And I'd be like, Ric Flair just has white hair and bleeds. What's the big deal? However, I grew up to realize, and it might be like, you know how I can't pick a number 2 because it's probably Kane? I'm probably more worried about what people would think of my opinion if I said Hulk Hogan. So I say Ric Flair to hang out with the cool kids.
Yeah, it's like, it was Ric Flair. I mean, like, I think you would like Ric Flair more now, but if you took Ric Flair and you took him and the Horsemen and everything that people loved about him in WCW in his prime, and you put that in WWF, he still wouldn't have been as over or anything compared to Hulk Hogan.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's why I agree Hulk Hogan's the George Washington on this Mount Rushmore. But on a personal level, do you like Hulk Hogan better?
Big God, no. I think for me, like I do think I would watch more Ric Flair matches than I would watch Hulk Hogan, and I would definitely listen to more Ric Flair interviews than I would ever listen to Hulk Hogan.
What do you think? I don't know. This is where I was gonna kind of probably disagree. I kind of like Hulk Hogan better on the mic. Now, listen, I like his. I love his.
You're a catchphrase sucker.
I fucking love that promo after he formed the NWO. He sounds so evil that like he'd always yell. He'd be this yelling guy.
Yeah,
but you'd never,
no matter the occasion.
Dude, I've never heard a guy sound more heel than Hulk Hogan on the first NWO interview. He just does a small inflection to his voice, and it scares you. Like, here it is. And it's actually the night of. I don't know why I said night after. Maybe it is the night after. Yeah.
No, I think there's the one the night of, because I think Gene Okerlund gets in the ring.
Yeah, right here, and they're throwing shit. Okay, yeah. Listen to like Mean Gene's on mic level, and then Hulk Hogan's like 12 decibels above because he's so passionate about this.
Gene, I don't know what you think of this, my man, but this has to be the absolute worst moment in my broadcasting career.
By the way, Tony Schiavone sucks. Tony Schiavone is Mike Tenay's worse. I'll say it right now. I hate Mike Tenay.
Oh yeah,
and his fake like encyclopedia of wrestling brain gimmick.
Yeah, and Mike Tenay is probably one of the worst looking people. Like, I know WWF gives Jim Ross a lot of crap because of his Bell's palsy. I wouldn't fuck Mike Tenay with Jim Ross's dick. Like, that's Mike Tenay is probably the ugliest man on wrestling.
We need to get into the best announcer next episode because it's Michael Cole.
And we're all witnessing it.
Look at Oakland. He looks like he's going to break up.
Go ahead, Gene. Hulk Hogan. Excuse me.
By the way, Mean Gene kind of sucks too, only because I'm watching Monday Night Wars and he's still being Mean Gene in his little, he's doing his announcer pauses, announcer voice. Be your own guy.
Excuse me. What in the world are you thinking?
Mean Gene, the first thing you need to do.
Oh my God. What power.
You know what, though? I do love that Hogan in that time couldn't even get out of the habit of calling him Mean Gene.
Yeah.
Which is like it was like an affectionate name he had for him all those years.
He shows that it's still him. Like, he doesn't do this thing where he's a completely different Sting face now. He's still the same guy, and he's uproarious. It's the only word for it.
What in the world are you thinking?
And that facial hair where it's black and blonde, I think was genius as well.
Oh, absolutely.
But before I'm going to hit play and we'll hear him again in a second, it'll probably make you jump. I also love when he says dude, because it's something the face Hulk Hogan does. It sounds so silly. You know something,
so awkward
dude.
coming from him too.
Yeah,
like
the dude thing. We need if somebody can make us a compilation of his dudes together.
the other thing I hated that he did as bad guy Hulk Hogan was whenever he wanted to put down Ric Flair while he was a bad, I think he called him stupid little man. And that became so ridiculous that like it's like, did a 4-year-old write your promo that you thought that like did Ric Flair be like, did he call me stupid? Like did you think that hurt his feelings?
Yeah, stupid little man. But that's one of those things where when you hear it, you're like, oh, it's nothing. Then like a day later, you're like, am I little? Am I stupid?
Are you thinking? Mean Gene, the first thing you need to do is to tell these people to shut up if you want to hear what I gotta say.
What a great fucking mic presence. But all right, now we got Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, Goldberg. No, I'm just kidding. So the third person on the Rushmore, I have to say, is Steve Austin.
Wow. Okay.
Oh, did you disagree?
No, that's good. I didn't know. I thought he was going to be the ones we argued on the fourth. I feel like somebody might be being overlooked, but I'll see what you got.
Well, then I have The Rock.
Okay. And that's a very valid...
What? Wait, no, do you have like Roddy Piper or something stupid? Are you focusing on the 80s?
I feel like you're overlooking the British Bulldog.
I was going to say, yes, I am actually. When he had long hair.
I find it hard, and I know it's different. Like it's a little before your time, and it was even before my time. Like the greatness of, but I feel like you can't do that without putting Andre the Giant on there.
That is the stupidest thing a human being's ever said. Because first of all, we will get into that next episode. Andre the Giant is one of two guys that I don't understand the reputation and respect they have, and we will talk about that because. Like you read Shawn Michaels' book, you read anyone's book, and they talk about how Andre had his table. No one ever crossed Andre. He was the most respected guy. Why? Because he's a freak. He never put on a good match in his life. He never put on a good promo in his life. He was a fucking freak. They just they should have.
He was a sideshow, but he was the main event sideshow.
You know how they had at one of the WrestleManias where they had the ring that moved people out.
I love that thing.
They should have had that. Ring. Every card for him because he had no maneuverability. Like the Big Show, I think deserves more respect than him because he's that sideshow that can jump, walk, and talk.
Yeah, and it's weird to see if you think about it, like how much they put over when they do WrestleMania 3. They build up that Andre had never been pinned in like 15 years or something, which is insane to think about that you let a wrestler go that long without being pinned.
Really? I mean, in that time, they wrestle every 2 years? I mean, Andre the Giant, like everything I hate about The Undertaker as far as vacations, still getting the respect, winning all the time, Andre was basically that. Like they're gonna...
But that's later years, Andre. Andre's prime was before like the WrestleMania era.
I never saw it.
And I think Andre was like as important to wrestling as Hulk Hogan was during his time. I think Andre was like internationally, and the whole world knew who Andre was, and people went to whatever show Andre was at to go see Andre the Giant. He was a sideshow, but that's what wrestling was also. Wrestling was a sideshow.
Do you think
wrestling was just a traveling carnival, and Andre was, the fucking head clown?
You know what? Maybe you have a point that because I was going to say you think more people knew him than Hogan, but before Hogan, yeah, obviously. And it was Andre, like Hogan slimming Andre, that kind of really solidified that Hulk Hogan character. That's the moment.
The whole, like, everybody in wrestling has, like, a concept of, like, that wrestlers need to pass the torch. And we always try to look for that passing the torch moment. Like, did Shawn pass the torch to, Steve Austin?
Yeah.
And, is so-and-so passing the torch to John Cena? Like, it always... Nobody really passes the fucking torch.
Yeah.
Like, there's never any of that. It's just... But people look back at it because Andre the Giant did pass the torch to Hulk Hogan. That was Andre going, my time is up. He'd clearly given up on trying. Like, his time was up. He couldn't do anything. And it was like, here's me putting over Hulk Hogan so that everybody understands Hulk Hogan's the guy.
Without putting Andre down, because there is a lot... I want to, but I won't. I'll go with what you're saying. But do you think that's even close to what Stone Cold was able to accomplish with the company in the late 90s and what he means to wrestling history? As far as Steve Austin being the biggest draw ever, that's a definite. But go ahead.
So, but then now maybe we don't take Austin off, but I feel like I could argue that what Andre did was more important than what The Rock did. The Rock was a parallel to Steve Austin. He was popular at the same time for a lot of the same reasons.
Yep.
But Austin did it first. So Austin meant more to wrestling.
A lot of people forget that everything The Rock did was just what Stone Cold did 2 months before. They were together for an IC title feud, and then Austin got the big push well before The Rock.
And the big thing that helped put The Rock over was Austin was feuding with McMahon, and The Rock aligned himself with McMahon. So that automatically made him the number one bad guy. It made him automatically hated. And I'm not saying he couldn't have got there on his own level because he has the ability, but him, if you're the top guy against Steve Austin, who everybody loves, you're automatically the guy everybody hates.
Yeah, you're very right there. And also, well, you brought up that whole Rock aligning with Vince. Is that not the best moment in? Is this something you want to discuss next episode? Your favorite moment in history of wrestling?
Yeah, I think we could do that because, like I said, I think we could go with the NWO, Hall and Nash on Nitro. I think there's a lot of pinnacle moments we might have to try to narrow down.
And mine's different than all of those. So yeah, we could probably go through that next time. So yeah, I got to agree with you. We definitely, we agreed on Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair.
Those are two gimmies. That's George Washington, Abraham Lincoln.
But you said you thought we'd argue over the fourth one being Austin. So you already had Andre on as 3.
I did. But I thought we might argue because there's people that are going to get left out at number 4. So if you go,
who else?
Hogan, Flair, Andre. Then I thought the argument would be, then who's the fourth? Is it Austin? Is it Rock? Is it
Shawn Michaels,
Undertaker, Shawn Michaels?
Oh my God,
Bret Hart. There's depending on who you ask, people are going to have different opinions.
If it's Andre at 3, it's no doubt Austin at 4. But
yeah,
Undertaker, I love denying him everything he's ever done. I kind of wish he was literally a dead man. I love the gimmick. If only someone could really make it happen. I wish that urn that he carried around, he was in it.
Do you know how he got that urn?
We blew Paul Bear's dead dad. What happened?
The old-fashioned way. He earned it.
All right, we're over. So it was the whole fucking show.
It was a Bobby Heenan joke.
It was okay. Good. Fine. We're not over quite yet. So yeah, the Undertaker is a guy who kind of deserves. So do you still put Andre over the Undertaker?
I do. I do.
Then it's settled. I'll believe you because I never experienced Andre at the time or through history. I've never cared enough about that character because I thought I'm already stuck with the Big Show. Why would I want 2 of these fucks? So I've heard about the legacy. I'll run with it with you. So yeah. Danny Richardson, this was the whole fucking show. Twitter.com/fucking show. The whole fucking show on Facebook. The whole fucking show.info. I am Kevin Scampoli, but if you've mingled on the internet long enough, back in the late 90s, you might have heard of Ivan Cage, Giant Johnson. I'm a 3-time IW champion. I defeated Anthony Cutler, Zach Mann, Ike Noble, Stefan Waters, among others. Ben Riley, I've also defeated. 3-time IW champion, gotta say that again. And Danny, what are your accolades?
I am Danny Richardson. I am Primetime, the original icon, the exhibition of excellence, the real-life Macaulay Culkin, and I am the guy that has wrestled 2 real professional matches.
We got to get into that, too. But also, I'm the modern-day icon, so good for you. But more than any of that, we are the whole fucking show.